Hey everybody, welcome back to Talks. My name is Mark. I'm here with Joe, and today we're going to be talking about jobs and is it a benefit or is it bad for business? So, um, basically, one of the things that brought this up for me was just the idea of you know having ideas or things that you want to pursue and um, maintaining a job at the same time, and whether it's beneficial or whether it's a hindrance to your pursuit of trying to um, obtain that life in business, if that makes sense. So so let's talk, Joe. Um, Thanks for jumping on as always. Always
Oh
good to
yeah,
see you.
happy, super
So what do you?
excited.
Yeah, I know. After a couple weeks on hiatus, we've
I know.
managed to bring it back together. But what do you think about that, though? Like, do you think that it's beneficial for people to pursue, like, let's just say that they have an idea that they want to start up a business? Um, is it better to do that with the comfort of having a um, I don't want to say a fallback, but having that income coming in, or is it better to kind of drop everything and just focus all your efforts on the business?
Um, I definitely think it's not a bad idea, to be honest. I think, especially if you're just starting out and then you have an idea that you want to pursue, or even if it's on the early stages or even the middle stage, um, I I think that it's nice to have you know that kind of stream of income coming in, um, especially because you can't really tell, or nor can you really predict about what's going to happen. Because sometimes something seems like a good idea. The moment you pursue it, then it's like you either something happens and then you end up having to like pursue something else, and or you just kind of lose interest or get burnt out. Um, so I definitely think having a job is, while in the beginning process of pursuing, it's always a good idea to do.
Sorry, I got stuck. Okay, but yeah, no, I agree. I think it is good. I don't know. I'm kind of torn between it because on one side I have like this idea of um, it's good to have like that fallback, and it's good to have that support system, or good to have options, I guess you could say. But um, it's not cheap to start up a business. For the most part, obviously, there's, I mean, every business is a little bit different, so your overhead's going to vary. But I mean, for the most part, you're going to have overhead, and so I think that it's important to have um, like mitigate that overhead, and I think sometimes having a job can help to do that. But at the same time, it also ties up a lot of like your free time, and like you said, you get sometimes you could get burnt out just by doing the job, and it may make it less of a, I don't want to say it's not going to be successful, but I just feel like it just takes away from your success. And then also, I think it also kind of takes away from your drive to want to move towards that business, because you have that fallback, and so it's not like a life and death situation where you have to make it work, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I totally understand what you're saying, and I think everyone is different, and I think that some people are the some people need a some people need stress. Like, some people are more have a higher threshold to take on stress than others. And I definitely think if you're someone who needs stress to motivate yourself into, into doing, into basically, achieving your goals and jump starting a business, then, you know, I'm all for it. It's cool. And then you have people who aren't who actually do need that fallback, that, they need that security, or they need that cushion to, to help relieve some of the, maybe the financial stress in, you know, in starting up a business. Um, so I definitely think you have to really know who you are as a person and understand what you're capable of doing, and understand the risk that you're going to be taking when you make these kind of moves. And I mean, and then having to balance your time between having a job and starting your business, I understand too. I mean, it could get pretty hectic, but I think that that's where you have to kind of learn time management. You have to determine what's important to achieving your goals, and it's important to what was I gonna say? I just got brain fart. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. So yeah, when you don't have that much time to dedicate to a side hustle or to a business, you really do need to learn time management, and then you have to kind of know, or kind of have that feeling, of what you need to do in the time frame that you have. I mean, some people have started businesses like when they only have like 2 or 4 hours at night, um, doing what they need to do, and they've managed to make it successful. Some people, they need a little bit more time because it's trial and error. That's kind of what business is trial and error. You're going to be failing so many times. You're going to fail more than you actually win. Um, but it comes down to really, like, who do you feel like, what do you feel is right for you? Some people are all about burning the boats and just march forward, and that's just not how other people work.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, some people need that fire to be burnt, to be lit
Yeah,
underneath them.
yeah,
And then some people,
yeah.
the burnt,
Motivation comes in
boats get
many
burnt.
different ways. Yeah, yeah. Motivation comes in many different ways to people, and like that's what's hard, really, about life itself, is just like every day I'm learning a little bit more about what motivates me. And there are times when I've like been so burnt out of like things, and it's just like it's hard to basically carry on. But then, something pops up, and it's like, or I ponder about something, and I think, and I have this thing that just like it clicks and helps me continue and helps me drive. Um, so I mean, it's a lot of people want answers right away when they start a business, but that's just not how it works.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing too, is that I think people have the tendency to just want to skip it all, They want to like skip the hard work and just jump right into being like a business
Yeah.
owner, or
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 making
like,
money fast. It's
yeah, just becoming a millionaire. Like they think it's just like something that just, you blink and it happens overnight, but they don't realize, sometimes it takes 3 to 5 years to make a business actually work,
yeah, it takes a lot. It really does. I mean, the end result is what's awesome, because I mean, the end result, you get control of your freedom, and doing what you want to do, hopefully in an industry where you love to be in.
Hopefully. That's the goal for sure.
Yeah, and it's tricky because sometimes you could get trapped by your side hustle, and then all of a sudden it becomes a job again.
Yeah.
So it's really about learning as you go and then knowing how to maneuver from there.
Yeah. And I mean, it's something that can happen quickly. Like I was just talking to one of my friends that his business just started booming, and he's a little bit overwhelmed about it. You know, maybe we'll bring him on sometime and talk about it. But he he just really he wasn't anticipating it growing so quick,
Mm-hmm.
but it just hit, and that's a scary situation in itself because you don't want to scale too quickly either.
Yeah.
So, um,
Yeah.
so yeah, so he's dealing with that right now.
There's a lot of businesses that have gotten in trouble. Um, when you scale too quickly and all of a sudden the work stops coming, or you don't have the necessary processes because you kind of need those growing pains. Um, you need the growing pains when you start a business and when you go through, the different movements of the business, because there's different cycles, and as you go through the different cycles in business, you kind of pick up these processes or this process of how to do things. And when you skip that, that's when you get in trouble. It's when you don't have, specific ways or specific processes to follow. Um, you could definitely collapse on yourself.
Yeah, and I think that that's important to think about too, because um, I know for me from firsthand experience, and granted, I've had a lot of like education and a lot of things that kind of prepared me for some of the things that I've undertaken. It's a whole different ballgame when you actually get into it and you're actually the person that's in the driving seat. And there's things you're gonna find out. Like there's many times um, when I'm like, okay, well, you know what, the software that I'm using is not working. Like I can't use this software.
Hmm.
It's not the best thing for my business, whether it be like overall or at this time. Um, it's like, okay, the software is really, really great, but the overhead, I just can't do it,
Yeah.
So sometimes it's the overhead, sometimes it's, it's a cost thing, or sometimes it's just um, like I'll give you an example for like QuickBooks or something, right? Like you have this overhead for
Oh
QuickBooks,
yeah.
and if you're not, bringing in steady income to cover all the different features that you want to do, bookkeeping alone, I think is like, yeah, I don't even know what it is right now, so don't quote me on this, but I think it was like starting at like 500
Hmm.
a month or something like that. And so, I mean, if you're not making that at least, then you're like you mentioned, you're scaling up too quickly, and then all of a sudden your business stops, or you have to scale down, and you can't cover the overhead. So
Yeah.
it's it's a balancing act a lot of the time. So it is important to do that. But I think that that's one of the things that benefits you if you're doing a job, right? So if you're like working at a job um, specifically, then you can capitalize on getting some of that foundation and learning some of the techniques and stuff. Um, you spend 2-3 years working customer service, for example. That's customer service skills that you can bring to the
Hmm.
table for your business.
Yeah.
Or like if you're doing accounting, you're learning how to like do profit and loss or something. You know what I mean? You're being able to take that and bring that to your business. So I think some people, me included, I used to think, oh, I'm wasting my time working when I could be, devoting all this time to a business, and doing my own
Yeah.
business. But at the same time, um, you're, picking up a lot of things that your business will need either right away or later on in the future. And I think that it's important to remember that. So it's not always a bad thing. But
Yeah.
I also think that, like you mentioned, it depends on the person. And I think it depends on if they're going to get that value from actually from working a job, or if they're the type of person that needs that fire lit to just jump right in it and just, have that sense of urgency to be able to actually do it, to actually push forward.
Yeah. Yeah, it does require you to be a self-starter when you decide to basically jump in with the sharks and just go head first and start a business. And because that's exactly what I did, and I regret it sometimes, but there's other times when it's like I definitely wouldn't have gone this far if I, because I'm one of those people where I have to like burn the bridges and the boats and
Yeah.
just try and dominate and conquer, and it's not for everyone. You definitely need thick skin, a very high tolerance for risk and stress, and it's not easy, but
Yeah.
like I said, it's not for everyone.
No, it's not for everybody, but it's definitely something that's worth it
Yeah.
when you push it in the long run.
Yeah.
All right, I'll be right back though. I'm
All
just
right.
gonna take a quick break and. All right, we're back. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Joe?
Yeah, I can. It was
Oh,
me.
okay. Oh, okay, cool. I was like, I wouldn't doubt it because last time my headphones died. Okay. I've been having like crazy system issues too. It's been ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it's like one thing after another. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Um, let's bring this back up. But yeah, so end result, just to kind of recap on that real quick. I guess really the consensus is, and I think that we're both kind of on the same page when it comes to this, but um, I think it just really comes down to the person that you are and what you personally need to kind of make it work. Because, and I don't know what the statistics are on this, but a lot of people can be very successful by simply um, by being able to by being able to work a job and do their business on the side. Um, so it's not a bad thing, I would say, but it just depends on the person that you are.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, we're on the same page. It's nothing bad. I mean, a lot of there's a lot of solopreneurs that do the same exact thing, especially when they're starting off an idea that they have, and they want to go through, see if it works. Um, yeah, I mean, there's real like you just do what you need to do what you want to do, and do what you think you can do. Really, there's no
Yeah.
right answer. That's the issue. So there's really no right answer and no wrong answer. I mean, you do just do you, I guess. Really, that's
That's
like
a good way to put it.
I mean, yeah, that's like really the only way to put it, because you know, like we always want like what's the right answer or what's the wrong answer, but truth
Yeah.
is, within life, there's really no right answer, no wrong answer.
I was just going to say that
It's
everybody's
just
asking for that. They're like, well, what
it's
do I do?
experience, really. And like, I mean, I don't know if I would like recommend it, but like I would definitely tell someone that, or I have to be careful, but like I would definitely tell someone that if they were to just basically jump into the deep end and just like try and swim, sometimes you could definitely find out things about yourself that you never would have thought were possible. And I think you should always give something a try and not be afraid of failing. I mean,
Yeah.
failing has like a horrible connotation to like, in society, but like truth is, man, it's like failure is just, especially to other solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, it's just a phase, or it's just it's a lesson learned, and it just depends on what you're going to do differently.
Yeah. I think we talked about that a couple weeks ago too, where you can't be afraid to fail. Like
Yeah.
it's part of the thing. It's like, when you're a school, bless you, when you're at school and you're, a child, or, well, I'm gonna say a child because like when you're in like high school, you're still a child. But when you're in high school and you're like, you have a crush or whatever, and you're like afraid, you're so afraid of that rejection that you never, take the leap and actually,
Yeah.
ask them out or whatnot, or tell them that you like them or whatnot. So, and it's just missed opportunities. And it's the same thing. That's kind of how I see it. It's akin to that, where,
Yeah. Yeah.
if you're afraid to take the risks, then you're never going to know what that outcome is. So it's
Yeah.
good to do it. And then, even if you do fail, you just take it as a learning experience, and then,
Yeah.
just move forward.
Same thing with grades. It's like everyone hopefully strives to have an A, but like, some people take it hard when, they get a C or a B, and it's like, it's not the end of the world. You just
Yeah.
gotta do better next time, and,
Well,
learn
there's
from
those
your
people.
mistake. Yeah.
When I was in high school, I purposefully calculated what assignments I had to do to pass the class with a C. And
Yeah.
and it was more work probably than actually just doing the assignments. But
Yeah.
I was just, I guess, lazy. I don't know. I don't know. I have no
You're
idea what my
curious. That's it. It's just curiosity.
I mean, it worked, but
Yeah.
I didn't graduate very well. I was the top of the class. I was the bottom of the class for high school.
Yeah. Me, I couldn't see anything, man.
Oh yeah, we've talked
Yeah,
about
because
that.
I was supposed to have glasses, but even with glasses, I was still like, I couldn't see anything. It's horrible.
Yeah, I don't know. I probably should have done a little bit better in high school.
Yeah. Yeah, you
It's
learn your
funny too because
lesson.
you do, but like I learned like when I was in, like, my daughter is a senior in high school now, and like I look at her and like I can't
Really?
always, yeah, I can't always
Damn.
be mad because she's a lot like me in a lot of different ways. Like now, this year, she's actually really, being really focused and everything. I'm really proud of her for, doing the things that she's doing now. But for a while there, I was like, oh my gosh, she's exactly like me. She's gonna make the same stupid mistakes I made. And it's hard because you can't really be mad because you're like, oh well, that's how I was. But it graduated like bottom of the class in high school, and then uh, almost graduated summa cum laude in college.
Hmm.
If it wasn't for one class, I would have, and it was totally my choice. Like I could have passed that class with an A, but I decided not to do my final. But
Yeah.
but but other than that, though, I could have graduated summa cum laude. Still graduated magna cum laude, but it's still a huge difference from like not like my learning abilities, because my learning abilities obviously have pretty much been the same, but the ability to actually focus and like not be lazy and not calculate my C grades out.
Yeah.
But actually try to strive for those A's and B's. But anyway, that's kind of, I digress from that. The point of it that I was going off of what you were saying on that was that um, you can't be afraid to fail, or you can't be afraid to succeed either.
And that's a problem too. A lot of people are afraid of succeeding because it's like you have this whole new responsibility that you've never had before in your life, and it's like it's scary. You could. I mean, it's in. I think it's within our brains that if we always come off as things are gonna be like as bad as they're really not. Like things are like we always put things in worst case scenario, but in reality, it's like it's not even close to being as bad as it was like as we thought it was gonna be. And I
Yeah.
think that's what people have with success is like you know you start making all this money and then all of a sudden it's like what if you get sued then and then what if you have a bad employee or what if you done this thing wrong or you have all this responsibility now you have all these mouths to feed because it's not just you and your family now you have your employees and their families and it's like a lot of people are afraid to get to that point where you know it could be successful but I mean success doesn't have to look like that. I mean you can be successful on your own or sometimes it's just you learn you have to like take that time to learn and kind of execute what you learn put into action and then adjust from there.
Yeah, I think that's really important because people don't really realize that. I was saying with my friend, he's in his business, he's scaling rapidly, and he's like, there's so many things I didn't think about. He's
Hmm.
like, I didn't think about when I do get employees, how am I going to do all the paperwork? Like, how am I going to file everything? Like, how am I going to stay on top of that? And it's hard because you got to bring in other people to do those tasks sometimes. And
Yeah.
so then that increases your overhead. And then, like you were mentioning, what if you have to scale down? What if something happens and you scaled so quickly that something might happen and you might lose clients or customers rapidly, and then you're looking at, okay, now how do I scale back?
Yeah. Or even worse, you have to fire someone. And it's just
Yeah.
like
Well,
you're
that's the
like,
thing. It goes into what you were saying, where you got other people that are depending on you now to
hmm
succeed. So if if you have to scale down, then it's bad news for them too.
yeah.
And you do take on a lot of risk when you open up a business, and I think that something that not a lot of people understand. I don't think people really truly understand it. Like, it's easy to point fingers at big corporations and be like, oh, you guys you guys are making so much money, and you're not doing this or you're doing that, and it's like we're like the basically like metaphorically crucify people, because they own a business or something.
Hmm.
And I don't know if it's just jealousy or what it is, because I feel like a lot of people would do the same thing in their positions, um, but it's frustrating to see people, I guess, ragging on business owners when they have no clue at the level of risk and stress that you have as a business owner,
Yeah.
particularly the ones that have uh, employees.
Yeah. And usually whenever I think about that, I think big corporations are a lot like a cruise ship where turning radius and those things are horrible. They can't turn on a dime. And it's the same thing with big corporations. It's like you have all of these people. It's not just one person, but it's the entire organization. And you can't necessarily, you can't turn on the dime because
No.
now you have everyone else that you need to think about, and it just causes a domino effect. And trust me, an organization that becomes that disorganized because of some pivot and no careful thinking, it you could sink a ship pretty fast.
Oh yeah.
Small businesses, it's a lot like it's a boat. It's a you could small businesses could pivot
Yeah.
almost any time that like not any time, but they have more
Easier.
freedom. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
easier for them to pivot from one direction to another. Um, and that's why some people actually do remain just having a small business, just because that's where they feel comfortable. It's easy because they have their freedom, they have their time freedom, but it's easy for them to like navigate and not have to worry too much about the overhead. But there's a
Yeah.
lot that comes into business own, and I wish that a lot more people could understand that, but yeah,
It's hard. I mean, it's not an easy concept to understand, because I think, I mean, we live in a country and a time and in a world that's just overly simplified. Like,
yeah,
we look at everything and everything's just simple. It's not. We don't take the time to look into what goes into everything. You look at the news or something, and you're taking a little snippet out of the day, instead of like going in and watching videos, watching like the actual conversations that people are having. Like watch a press conference, and it's completely different from what you see on the
yeah,
simplified version of it. But um but that's the way that we live, like in general. So it's not just, it's like with our news, it's with the way that we interact. People don't go in, dine in nearly as much as they take out, do fast food or delivery, or Uber Eats or whatnot.
yeah,
It's just, everything's just so simple right now that it's hard to like really wrap your mind around the complexities of owning a business, especially at that scale when you're looking at major corporations
yeah,
um, where the corporation itself, or the people that are running it, the CEOs and CMOs and CFOs and everybody, they have a fiduciary duty to the stakeholders to be able to continue to maintain profitability. So it's hard for any of those like major changes to really come. Like, for example, wage increases. And
yeah,
people are like, oh yeah, we got to, the wage, we can increase our wages, and that's the way it should be. But then they don't realize that, okay, well then they still have to maintain profit margins for stakeholders.
yeah,
So yeah, they can increase wages, but then that also means less people working for them, or less hours that they can maintain, because they still need to maintain those profit margins. So they're going to trim the fat somewhere else.
yeah,
So, and a lot of times it comes down to the consumer too, which sucks, because as a consumer, you want to have better
hmm,
pricing, and but then the company still has to maintain competitiveness. So um, they still have to um, sometimes cut prices, and then you're looking at employees and stuff getting cut. So it's just a
Yeah.
domino effect, and I think people just have a hard time understanding that.
Yeah, and it's a cold hard truth that profit is everything to a business. It doesn't matter. I mean, besides, not to be political, besides government, there is no business on earth that's ever survived on a negative profit. And it's for that reason is that businesses fall if they don't have any profit. Profit's
Hmm.
important. That's what keeps them running. And I'm glad that you brought up the, simplification that in the beginning that's what racked my brain is there was really no step by step process. There was no instruction manual. There was no wiki how on what to do to business, how to start a business, how to grow a business, how what to do on the day to day business, like day to day basis of a business. There's nothing like there's no manual. There's nothing. It's like, and it's that complex that the complexity of it is what took me a while to understand. And I think that's what does like that's what kind of scares a lot of people because they're really it's like I could the only thing that you could really do is take advice from people who have a business and who have started a business. But other than
Yeah,
that, there's like no, it doesn't, it's not like IKEA where it comes with an instruction manual and tells you you have to do this. And then next step, you have to do this. There's certain parts of business that work like that, but for the most part, it's like, what are you going to do for marketing? How are you going to market? What are you going to do to distribute market? How are you going to figure out, or how are you going to keep track of profit gains and losses? What are you going to, how are you going to keep track of expenses? What are you going to keep, there's just so much things that come with owning a business. And that's when I say, step by step. And you need that experience to kind of gain traction and to understand, the full scope of what goes into a business. Because I mean, in the end, like me, I definitely want to try and hire off things that I don't like, things that I'm not very good at to like different people. Like that's kind of like my dream, you know.
yeah, and it's a smart way to do it. Um,
Yeah, and it's just step by step, First step, just do this. That's kind of how you have to see things.
yeah, and again, I think that's part of the problem is that it's hard to see that unless you've been there before, or unless
Yeah.
you're picking up. I have a friend that he started up a he started he didn't well, I guess he started it, but basically he runs a Subway franchise.
Hmm.
And so he the way he started though was he worked for Subway, and got in with like the manager, and like it became, he kind of worked his way up in the company. And the franchise owner um, was looking at expanding, and he's like, hey, I don't want to do this by myself. I could do it, but I want to kind of um, spread it out a little bit. And I think that you'd be a really great person for the job, and I think that it can help you, because he was wanting to kind of do the same thing. And so um, long story short, he kind of guided him into this position where they like opened up a couple stores together, I think, and
Hmm.
then he kind of branched off and started opening up his own franchise, and or his own group of Subways franchise in the franchise operation. And I think he has like 11 stores now, something crazy like that. But like started off with just working for the company, and so um, it's not something where it's always a bad thing to have a job. I mean, you could, especially if you're working in the industry that you're wanting to kind of push your company into.
Hmm.
If you're wanting to start up a marketing company, it's a good idea to go get a job as a marketer, and go find a, a maybe like a niche that you want to work in, or even like if you want to go market for car sales or something, you go get a job at a dealership, and learn the job, learn the ins and outs of it, work at a couple different dealerships or something, and get that experience. So it's not always a bad thing. I think it's a really good thing sometimes if you leverage it correctly. But like you said, I mean, it really just comes down to the person and what's going to be the best option for you.
Yeah, there's so much to learn. I mean, it's like you said, there's one way that you could get into starting your own business is actually by working for a business.
Yeah.
That you don't necessarily just have to like come up with an idea and then just pursue it like that. But I mean, yeah, you could definitely start from the inside and then work your way out to owning different franchises or starting your own business. Now that you know how everything works and kind of like the inner workings of a company, you kind of have a way to mimic what they did,
Mhm.
and then you kind of like get a point out. Okay, so they did it this way, I want to do it this way, and then
Yeah.
let's see what happens. Yeah, I mean, you
Yeah, you could
definitely
build
get
up
a
like
lot of
your
experience.
structures or your SOPs, or
Yeah.
just get some type of a guidance going. So yeah, I know, I agree with you 100%. I think it's a really good way of trying to tackle it. But I think there's a couple different ways that you can kind of think of it in a positive way, and that's you can get a job and learn skills that you
Hmm.
can use for a business. You can look at like structure and like working in the actual structure, trying to see how the business actually works, like how that field works. Or you can work for like a company specifically if you're wanting to do like a franchise or something like that. So I think that there's a couple different ways that you can do it. You can kind of look at it as skills based. You could look at it as like kind of an overall like niche market, or you can also look at it as like a building block and kind of like working your way up in a company, but then branching it into your own company. And then on the other side of it, I think that, there's the things that are kind of um, on the opposite scale of it is, for one, it takes up a lot of your time, um, takes up resources, energy. Like you and I have always said, your biggest resource is your time, you know, and so
Yeah.
you can utilize it positively or negatively, but if you can try to save that resource and kind of expand, that always helps. But um, so that's on the opposite side of things. Um, but also, I think, I mean, just the security blanket, you can kind of get stuck in that rut of, oh
Yeah.
man, I really don't want to lose these benefits, or I really don't want to, um, I really don't want to do this because, and I was talking to a friend and she was talking to me about golden handcuff syndrome, I think is what she called it, where basically you don't want to
Hmm.
lose those benefits, and you don't want to lose like you don't want to lose everything that you get with the business or from the business. So
Yeah.
you choose not to leave it.
Yeah. And then you don't want to lose the feeling of being content or being safe, even though being safe or having a safe job is a false reality in itself. There's nothing
Yeah.
safe, especially nowadays. With how fast technology is growing, it's just it
Oh
really is.
yeah.
It's not nothing is safe.
I mean, do you look back 10 years ago and you're like, oh,
I
you know what?
know.
At least I can have this job at McDonald's where nobody robots can't replace me. And then here we are, where you can, as it turns out,
Oh,
you
I
know,
know. And then what was it? Construction workers can never be replaced, but now they have 3D printed houses. Times are definitely interesting. But I
oh
think
yeah.
it's
I tell
just
my kids, if you're going to do a job or if you're going to go down a career path, go into robotics, because if somebody in IT too, but I mean, if somebody, the way that the world is going, what's going to end up happening is everything's going to go to robots, and somebody's going to need to fix them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I don't like whenever my daughter comes up with a crazy
programming.
idea. Yeah. When my daughter comes up with a crazy idea, I'm like, I tell her, I'm like, you know what? To be honest, I didn't think that there was gonna be like this much advancement in something, or like what was it? We were having a conversation the other day that she wanted to build a robot that could like actually pick like that could go through your house and actually sort through the different materials on the ground. So like if it finds a rubber band, then instead of like automatically putting it into the vacuum bag, it sorts it out. And I told her, I was like, you know what? I thought like if I was a kid, I totally thought that would have been a crazy idea. But to be honest, I wouldn't doubt we're gonna probably see that in the next 5 years.
Oh yeah, yeah. Robots like Osimo by Honda, which I don't even. I think it's Honda. Um, that's supposed to be like one of the like house robots, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, when I start looking at those things, I'm like, I feel like we're going a certain way.
Yeah.
It was sci-fi when we were kids,
Yeah.
and now it's reality.
I'm gonna be first in line for that. Trust me.
Oh, I will too.
Oh
But
man, that's gonna be awesome.
I agree. I mean, you're gonna get controversy on it, but I'm kind of for it.
Yeah. Anyone who thinks it's controversial has never been a parent.
Yeah, that's true.
Because holy cow, man! I have 2 kids and one can't walk, and it's oh my god, it's
Yeah.
already so hectic.
Oh yeah, we'll have to like toss the baby around as we're cooking and stuff. Like tonight, we're just like, here, take the baby. Okay, I'm like washing dishes and stuff. I'm like, here, take the baby. And like it's just
Yeah.
like pass the baby all night, like while we're cleaning and cooking and stuff. So yeah, I totally get it.
Yeah.
But we're running up on time here in a couple minutes, and so I just wanted to kind of close it up. But honestly, I feel like the more that we go on, the conversations get better, and I feel like it adds more value to anybody that's listening. So
Mm-hmm.
if you agree with us, any value that you get from it, I appreciate all the comments that we've been getting, YouTube and Twitch, and I mean just anywhere, just personal messages and everything too. So thank you. But yeah, keep them coming. Again, if you want to join the conversation, go to palatalks.com. And we have some links there that you can follow if you want to get in the conversation. If you have any feedback, comments, anything like that, check out the merch shop at palatalks.shop. And then, palatalks.shop. Sorry, I just double check it because I haven't looked at it in a minute. And support us if you can, because I mean, the more that we can get supported by doing this, the more content we can bring to you too. So we definitely appreciate it. Joe, anything else you wanted to add before we close it up?
Yeah, get out of your head and stop thinking of things as wrong and right decisions. Just their decisions. Do it and learn from it, because that's that's the only way to live without regret.
That's good advice. Yeah, and if you want to get at Joe at any point, Joseph, we have the links there in the bottom of the screen. So definitely, reach out to him, reach out to me, and hopefully we can keep the conversation going. So again, thank you guys for tuning in. We really appreciate it. And you guys have a great rest of your night, day, whatever it is that you're at. Good talking though.
Yeah.